So I think our goal over the 130 plus years has been to keep the farm debt free and operating as a farm, however that looks, and be I would say fiscally and soil health responsible, because debt can take your farm down, and so can losing your topsoil.
Mm-hmm.
So those two things are important. So do no harm. And again, I'm just a placeholder for my daughters and my granddaughters. They'll get a farm. I don't know what it'll look like. We can only do what we can do, but we're not going to plunge it into useless or unfulfilling debt, and we're not going to do anything generally to degrade the land. We're going to keep improving the land, and that's my mantra at this point. Being in the conservation world has been a really interesting journey, because when I started 16 years ago at the district, I had a set of principles, and then all the agency folks, the professionals and people I've learned from, I got a different perspective. It's like, oh, what my dad did and what we used to do was fine, but straightening streams and doing all kinds of stuff, I learned, planting trees is beneficial. Keeping soil health up. Rolling out hay. There's a lot of old New World ways of doing stuff, and we've gotten better. Our organic matter on our farm is way better than it was when I started my career at farming. So it takes time.
Oh yeah, soils take a long time to build back.
And that is the problem I see now, is we have a water holding capacity problem in America. I just saw some soil tests from the Midwest states, and they were less than 3. So, when it rains, if it rains a lot or doesn't rain at all, the soils just can't hold or capture
that
water. And so you're not resilient
either.
And that resiliency is what's going to be our bank account. So I can't see myself jeopardizing. And so now when we get these big rains, everybody's talking about floods. People are worried. When it rains a lot, I can go to my stream. Nothing happens.
It's all getting absorbed. It doesn't make it to the stream.
I mean, it takes a lot of rain for things to, and then it does. You'll have an event that you just.
This year was pretty.
You have a couple, and you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. But overall, when you get these big rain events, if it's for a couple hours, couple inches, it's not a big deal. But again, it takes time and thought and not everybody can farm grass. There's crop farmers and this kind of farmer and that kind of farmer. So for our land, it's hilly. It's really good soil. So we need sod on it. So, that was a long.
That's fine. Yeah, we're still on the intro, huh?
Yeah, right. Take that chapter and move it over.
Yeah. But no, just and that's kind of the cool thing with even crop farms now. It's improving. You get the no-till. We're doing less and less tilling. I don't know necessarily about the Midwest, but I know at least in the Northeast, I think there's more of a push for no-till, strip till, all that. It's just better. It's it's cheaper. It saves you time, saves you fuel. You build your soils up. You're keeping that microbiome in the soil stable, and it's just a
The problem is we have corn, and corn. We haven't. Somebody was talking about if someone could invent corn that could be done in 80 days, 75-day corn, you could have a lot more cover crops. You could have a lot more of that forage chain because lately you can't hardly get a cover crop, and the weather. Time to get the corn off, the weather's already turning to crap.
Well, we've kind of
How are you doing?
We only have 200 acres of corn, and we'll take the corn off. We have a custom guy come in, neighbor.
Yeah.
If we have 5 days of good weather, we can get all of our corn in and the bunk covered in 4, maybe 5 days. You might not even need that 5th day. And then we have a no-till drill and then just a conventional grain drill, and we'll just load up with rye and triticale, and we hit it all. And like I said, only 200 acres, so you can get it done. If you had a week of good weather, you could hit, and all the corn is off, you could get all that.
So with that many, but you have a system.
Yeah.
And you have a custom operator, whereas the hills of Madison County and things, there isn't, we're talking, I saw the cover crops, they're doing pretty well, and the fields are pretty nice. You get in 3-4 acre fields, it's hard to get a custom.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's all about timing, and then there's you put money in the ground, hoping that you're gonna reap some reward. So we've got to keep trying.
It's a planning. When we do cover crops, we expect to take. So, like, for example, this past spring, it was such a dry, 2020 was so dry, low on forage, coming into spring. He said, we're going to harvest as much cover crop, because we had 200 acres of cover crop. We're going to harvest as much as we possibly can, wrap it into baleage, put it in our bunk. I think we harvested probably 100 acres worth of cover crop. Mm-hmm. And going in that fall when we planted, we had that in mind. You have to really be thinking almost a year ahead of time.
Yep.
You plant your corn. If you really do it right, you should plant shorter day corn where you want to put your cover crop for the next year.
Yep.
So you can get that corn off in early September, get the cover crop established before you have a frost. Then that stuff's ready. It's taller, has a head start. You can get it in May before you take your first cutting off or whatever. We've learned it's very time sensitive. You really have to pay attention to where you want to be, what fields are going to rotate. We're always, every year it's, okay, we'll plant oats on the corn ground that's going to go into hay next year. So that way the oats will get established. They'll die off in the winter. And then next year, as long as the field is nice, it's not rutted up, we might be able to just lightly just break up the top soil with a disc and then plant it and roll it. And you don't have to mow, bore, plow, do all that. Because, with the triticale and rye, I'm sure stuff's almost impossible to kill.
Yeah.
So if we have oats there, at least it'll give somewhat of a cover, die off, and then it's a lot easier just to plant right through the trash and roll it. And we've had pretty good success. That's something newer we've done I think it was last year was the first year we tried it.
But scale, it's hard to get.
Oh, sure.
Farmers to it's hard to get farmers of different capacities, to come up with a plan that they can implement. Yeah. So again, one size doesn't fit all, and if you have a certain advantage like custom cropper types or choppers, that's an advantage you should basically take advantage of. And if you have a district that has a no-till drill, that you can borrow or rent real cheap, but you got to put everything you got to get all hands on deck.
Yeah, in the spring, we've now started using that same custom operator who chops all of our corn, come in, chop 2/3 of our first cutting, all the grass, pure grass stands, orchard grass, and then basically all of our alfalfa mix stands. Because what would happen is we're trying to hit cover crops and plant corn and chop, and you got to choose what's the best. I was like, well, cover crop, you don't want that to head out, then it's dry cow feed, heifer feed. So we'd usually go after that, and then try to get the hay, let the corn planter sit. And now we have him come in, custom. He takes care of the first cutting in about a day and a half. We put someone in the silo to push and pack, and that's done. And then we can just squarely focus on cover crops and corn. And the pure sand alfalfa, that can wait another week or two because it's not going to flower out. So it's like you said, it's no one size fits all. Every farm has to.
Is that something you brought to the table, or your dad? He was the guy.
Cover crops?
Yeah.
It was more my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you young bucks were.
I was all about it. So when I came home, I took over a lot of the herd stuff, basically all the herd's work, and Dad did all the crop, just solely cropping, feeding cows, and he would just read about cover crops and, hey, cover crop and strip tilling, and maybe we should try this. Yeah, sure, let's give it a try, and we just slowly every year did.
Wow, that's rare. Your father drove that train.
But that, and then as time went on, I kind of I think it was last year, the year before, I said, this first cutting is an issue. We're getting junk. The grass is heading out.
Yeah.
We can't get. Why don't we have Diedrich, our neighbor, just do the first for us, and he'll be done in a day and a half. I kind of drove that, and I think he thought it over, and we're glad we did it. But it's one of those things where, I kind of pushed him a little bit on doing that, and I think it's worked out really well. We plan on keep doing it. So it costs something, but
Yep.
you gain a lot from that feed. As you get high quality haylage and baleage. It'll pay for
and cheaper milk.
Yeah.
In some respects, higher quality feed.
Mm-hmm.
Cows milk better on your grass forage, right? It's homegrown.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm appreciative of that. It takes a lot of planning. Sort of the same with grazing. It's the planning process that gets overlooked. The implementation's actually pretty easy. It's the inventory management. It's the decision making, pre-season, and then certain decision days, I call them, throughout the season to, how are we doing? How's the inventory looking? What decisions do we need to make? And I think there's a saying, a lot of farms work in the business, not on the business. And we should take the time to work on the business, whether that's sitting around with a cup of coffee once a month or something, like reevaluate.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I'm too busy to reevaluate, but a good decision could really help, down the road.
Yeah. Or if you have an issue, address it and fix it, and